You open an app, you type in an address, a blue line appears and tells you exactly where to walk. You never think about it, you just follow the line. But for almost all of human history, there was no line, no app, no paper, no satellite hanging in the sky waiting to tell you where you stood. And yet your ancestors walked out of Africa, crossed deserts, climbed mountain ranges, paddled across open ocean, and found their way home again, every time. How? The real answer is far stranger than a map. Your ancestors didn't navigate the world, they built the world inside their heads. Start with the ocean, because it hides the biggest clue. Thousands of years before compasses existed, Polynesian navigators sailed thousands of miles across open Pacific water in wooden canoes with no instruments at all, and found tiny islands smaller than a city block. No coastline to follow, no landmarks, just water in every direction. How does a person do that? The anthropologist David Lewis spent years sailing with these navigators and documented what he saw. They read the ocean like a language. Swells moving in one direction meant a distant island was blocking the wind on the other side. A greenish tint in the clouds meant a lagoon was reflecting light onto the underside of the sky. Certain seabirds only flew a set number of miles from land before turning back, so spotting one told you land was close and roughly which way. None of this was written down, it was memorized, generation after generation, as chants and stories passed from a master navigator to an apprentice, sometimes over 20 years of training. The ocean became a map, but the map lived in memory, not on paper. Now, go inland, to the deserts of Australia. Aboriginal Australians developed something even more remarkable, the songline. A songline is a sung story that follows the exact path of a real journey across the land. Each verse describes a landmark, a rock formation, a waterhole, a bend in a dry riverbed. Sing the verses in order, and you are singing your way across hundreds of miles of desert with no ambiguity about where to turn. Researcher Lynn Kelly has studied how oral cultures encode enormous amounts of practical information into song and story, specifically because a story is easy to remember and a list is not. Your brain was never built to memorize spreadsheets. It was built to memorize journeys. A songline isn't poetry for its own sake. It's a memory system disguised as a song, and it is remarkably accurate. People who had never physically walked a route could still follow it correctly using only the song because the sequence of landmarks was preserved perfectly across hundreds of years. So the ocean gave you pattern reading, the desert gave you story memory. But there's a third piece, and it's inside your skull right now. In the 1970s, neuroscientist John O'Keefe discovered something extraordinary in the brains of rats. Deep in a region called the hippocampus, certain neurons fired only when the animal was in one specific location. Move it somewhere else, a different neuron fired. He called them place cells. Your brain, it turned out, builds a literal map of space using dedicated cells whose entire job is to represent where you are. Later research found grid cells nearby, neurons that fire in a repeating triangular pattern, effectively laying an internal coordinate system over the world, like graph paper made of neurons. O'Keefe won the Nobel Prize for this discovery in 2014, alongside May-Britt Moser and Edvard Moser, who identified the grid cells. Here's the part that should stop you. Neuroscientist Hugo Spires later studied London taxi drivers who spend years memorizing the tangled, illogical layout of London streets to pass a famously brutal licensing exam called the Knowledge. Brain scans showed their posterior hippocampus, the part linked to spatial memory, was physically larger than average, not metaphorically, measurably larger. The structure had grown, shaped by years of wayfinding. Your ancestors were doing the same thing every single day just to survive. Every hunting trip built the hippocampus a little more. Every water source remembered. Every ridgeline used as a marker. Every night sky studied for the position of a star. All of it was training a biological GPS system that had been quietly under construction inside your skull the entire time. Which raises the strange part. If this system is so powerful, why does it feel so weak in you? Because you stopped using it. Researchers who study modern wayfinding have found that heavy reliance on GPS is linked to reduced activity in the hippocampus during navigation tasks. The tool got smarter, so the organ got quieter. Not broken, just unused. A muscle you stopped lifting with. Think about how ancient wayfinding actually worked, and you start to notice it's built from three things. Pattern recognition, so subtle signs in the environment become information. Story, so long sequences of information become memorable. And constant physical use, so the brain's spatial machinery stays sharp instead of going dormant. None of those three things require electricity. None of them require satellites. They require attention. That's the real twist hiding underneath this whole story. Ancient humans weren't navigating with worse tools than you. They were navigating with a better trained brain. The ocean-reading Polynesian navigator and the songline-singing desert traveler weren't relying on luck or magic or some mystical sixth sense. They were running a highly trained biological system, refined over a lifetime, built on the same hippocampus sitting in your head right now. You still have it. It hasn't gone anywhere. Next time you walk somewhere familiar with your phone in your pocket, try putting it away. Notice the shape of the buildings. Notice which direction the sun is leaning. Notice the small landmark you always pass but never actually look at. That flicker of attention is the same system your ancestors depended on to cross oceans and deserts. It's just been asleep. You open an app. You type in an address, a blue line appears and tells you exactly where to walk. But the real map was never on the screen. It was always inside you, waiting for you to use it again.